what you gonna do when Sugar John don't come for you?
Welcome back, Santa Clarita Valley. We're here on your hometown station, KHTS AM 1220. With me in the studio is special guest, Santa Clarita Valley Sheriff Station Crime Prevention Unit Deputy Josh Dubin. And, as promised, we have a even more special guest, if that's possible, Captain Roosevelt Johnson, new captain of the Santa Clarita Valley Sheriff Station, who took over in March. Captain Johnson, can you hear us okay?
Yes, I can.
Outstanding. Tell me a little bit about your experience with the department, Captain Johnson.
You know what, I've actually been on a department, and Perry, thank you for having me on the show. And
Thanks for coming on.
I've been on the Sheriff's Department for 23 years. Came out of the department back in 1990 after doing 4 years in the United States Navy. I joined the department, went through the academy, and after graduated and was assigned to North Facility, where a custody facility at the Pitches Detention Center in Castaic. I spent about 5 years there in custody, and then transferred to my first patrol assignment in Linwood at Century Station. From there, I went to West Hollywood Station, and then a short stint at a administrative assignment at Custody Division. Then I went to an assignment at the Academy staff, where I ended up working at College of the Canyons for the first 2 years, training new recruits. And then I transferred to Whittier for the remaining 3 years. Promoted to sergeant and went to Lenox Station as a sergeant. Then got assigned from there to a headquarters assignment at Custody Division, working for one of our division chiefs who was responsible for all of the custody facilities. Promoted to lieutenant from there and went to North County Correctional Facility, where I did about 10 months, and then got assigned to Altadena Station as the operations lieutenant.
So,
Go ahead.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I apologize. Didn't mean to interrupt you there.
No, and right after that, I worked 2 years at Altadena, 2 years at as the aide for North Patrol Division, and then got assigned here to Santa Clarita Station.
So you've essentially worked all over Los Angeles County during your 23 years at the...
Yes, I have.
But a lot of that time, you lived right up here in the Santa Clarita Valley, right?
I did. I've had the good fortune of living here in the Santa Clarita Valley for 23 years. Once I got assigned out of the academy, I lived in L.A. for about 2 weeks, was making that commute, and realized that it was time to move. And that was probably one of the best decisions that I made for me and my family.
Now, it's interesting, you had mentioned when I spoke with you, I did a story that's up on hometownstation.com shortly after you took the helm, and you talked about some of your different assignments. In the Altadena Station, when you were there, you were addressing some pretty serious issues that they were having there at the time. Can you talk to me a little bit about that?
We had, obviously there was some violent crime that was going on. There was a gang issue that we had the Pasadena-Denver lanes and the Altadena block Crips that were there. And there was a lot of feuding going on, some shootings that had taken place. So, in our opinion, obviously they were terrorizing the community.
Right.
So we formulated a plan, me and the captain at the time, and we brought in the gang enforcement team and a bunch of other units, and got in a task force with the FBI, and basically started taking down and dismantling that gang.
Now, when you're addressing issues like that and figuring out strategies, is every area unique? Every area present its own challenges and problems? And how do you kind of figure out where those come from?
You know what, it does, but every area does present its challenges, but one of my goals as the captain here of the station is to take ownership of everything that happens here, including crime. This community has been and will remain one of the safest communities in the nation. It's had that distinction for quite some time. I just looked at the crime stats recently, and the crime here in the community is down in the Santa Clarita Valley 22.7%.
Wow. And is that year over year or?
Year over year, yes.
Okay, I apologize. And you were saying your goal?
Yeah, and my goal is to make sure that I partner with the community through engagement efforts. I've started this thing called Coffee with the Captain. I just came back from one just a few minutes ago over in the Stevenson Ranch area, but I plan to do it. The city's split into 8 zones. My goal is over the next 8 weeks is to go to each zone and sit down at a coffee establishment and engage the community for a couple hours at a time and find out what the community's concerns are and make sure that we as a department are working to address those concerns.
Now, I was just at one of those coffee with the captains in Canyon Country with Deputy Wilson and his crime zone. Talk to me a little bit about the conversations you were having there. It looked like there was a kind of interest in a bunch of different areas.
Yeah, it was. Overall, I mean, the general consensus from the community has been very, very positive. They're really appreciative of the fact that I'm going out and engaging them. It's something that hasn't been done, but my goal is to do that myself, but lead in doing that, and also make sure that the deputies are doing it. But the conversations that I've heard from some of the community members, they brought some concerns that they've had. The majority of issues that they've identified are basic quality of life issues, like speeding and things like that in their community, and sure. I've promised to and committed to make sure that I address those.
And there was a meet and greet last night, I believe, at City Hall or Council Chambers.
Yes, it was.
And you were meeting with the public. What was the turnout like there, and what was that event like?
There was a very significant turnout. The city of Santa Clarita put together a meet and greet for me, which was a very wonderful event. It started at 5 o'clock last night. I got there, and it was a steady stream. There was a lot of people there initially, but there was a steady stream of community members that were coming out from both, the city and the unincorporated area that basically wanted to meet me. And some of them had some concerns that they wanted to bring up, and I was able to listen to them, engage them, make sure I documented that, and then I've given those concerns to members of the crime prevention unit to make sure that we start addressing those.
So for people who might not understand, the Santa Clarita Valley Sheriff Station is contracted through the city of Santa Clarita, which is where a lot of the services come from. And I'm just curious if when you took over the helm, because there's been a real tight partnership and a history of a close relationship, was there any kind of priorities they asked you to establish or what they asked you to look into when you kind of took the helm of the Santa Clarita Valley Sheriff Station?
Well, a lot of the things that have gone on for the last couple of years, the programs that have been in place, like the crime prevention unit, it's a cutting-edge program that splits the city, as I said, into zones, and there's a deputy responsible for each of those zones who looks at crime on a daily basis and works with me to identify trends and problems, and then we look at how we're going to solve those things. So that was something that's across the valley, the city and the unincorporated area really liked, and it's something that they wanted to continue here. So those are some of the things that I've heard. But as I said, taking ownership of the crime and everything that happens here as it relates to public safety is one of my biggest priorities.
And Captain Johnson, we have to take a quick commercial break, but if I could ask you to stay on and ask you a couple more quick questions just kind of about the Santa Clarita Valley Sheriff Station when we get back?
Sure.
Okay, we'll be back on your hometown station, KHTS AM 1220, right after this.